Hello there, Lunar Squadron, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to the Great Temple on Yavin. Last time around, we explored all over this temple and climbed all the way to its beautiful peak. This time around, we're going to be doing all things space battles. That's right, guys, we are going to be blowing up the Death Star. We are going to be absolutely pissing off Emperor Palpatine in the process.
Huh? What do you mean they blew up the Death Star? Oh!
And that's not all, we're also going to be going over some other new flight sequences in this game, breaking down that gameplay for you all. We have a lot of great details to get through in that, but first, a few brief messages from Nick.
Yep, first, Andres and I would once again like to personally thank WB Games for providing us early access to play LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga and capture all of this footage to show off to all of you. Again, a great honor for both Andres and I, and we are completely and 100% totally thankful to WB Games for this opportunity. Second, guys, I'm going to need you guys to use the Force here for a moment. I need you to pretend that your mouse button is a Proton Torpedo and that subscribe button is the Death Star's thermal exhaust port. I need you to shoot that Proton Torpedo at that exhaust port, thus blowing up the Death Star and subscribing to the Lunar Squadron. Now, Andreas, I am so ready to get into this space combat gameplay. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alright, let's do it in 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, so we are picking up right where we left off last time around. That is selecting the Stay on Target mission. We're going to be looking at a bit of a cutscene here, and then we are actually going to come right back and go through this gameplay.
The battle station is heavily shielded and carries a firepower greater than half the Starfleet. An analysis of the plans provided by Princess Leia has demonstrated a weakness. Huh? A small one-man fighter should be able to penetrate the outer defense. Man your ships, and may the Force be with you.
Lock S-foils in attack position.
This is Red 5. I'm going in.
Right with you, boss.
It'll be just like Beggar's Canyon back home. Fighters coming in, point 3.
Luke, trust your feelings.
Alright, so Andreas, obviously now this is your gameplay because I did not get this far in episode 4, so why don't you tell us all your initial impressions of what it was like to fly in X-Wing in LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga?
So the first thing that I just have to clarify for all of you is that I was unable to invert my Y-axis flight controls for this one, and that for me is like a big killer. Now, I want to clarify, you can do that, I just didn't take the time to do that here. So I had a bit of trouble actually controlling my X-Wing as I was navigating the trench because I'm so used to those inverted flight controls. But that aside, I really did enjoy the flight in this game. It's very unhinged, it's very like, you're able to roll your ship, you're able to fully control your ship in this game. So that's something we've never seen in LEGO Star Wars so far. So, I mean, that in and of itself was just a great new feature here. You can see here I'm picking up a few mini kits on my way through, which is pretty cool. And I think we actually end up making True Jedi here. But, I mean, just as a spectator, Nick, what do you make of this level so far?
Yeah, I'm noticing the flying is actually very smooth. I really like that. The one thing I am noticing, though, about this level in particular is we're starting in the trench run here, which is a little weird because that is not how this goes down in the movie, but looks like they're starting us off here in the trench run. And I remember back when we were doing our speculation video or breaking down the storyboard for episode 4, because that was one of the official storyboards that we got during that trailer, is we were worried that they were going to do the trench run first and then kind of do this open sequence here, which we're seeing, and that appears to be the case. What did you think about that?
You know, I kind of wondered if I'm able to go and explore around those open areas a bit more. I think maybe that's why they did it, is so that they would have some areas to hide some mini kits as, you know, I crash into this pillar, because I thought up was down and down is up, but the game rewarded me with True Jedi, so that's worth it, I guess. I really paid for it. But I was thinking maybe that's why they had the trench open up in certain sequences, but it did feel a bit backwards, and you know what? I'm going to be fully honest with this level. I was expecting a little bit more out of the finale for this one. You'll see here, it's kind of very brief. We're actually about to get into a cutscene right here, so I'll let that play out, and then I'll close with some final thoughts on this level.
I'll take them myself. Cover me.
Yes, sir.
Look out, kid!
Alright, so this is where this one is going to start to open up, and the sequence here is very simple. I'm going to be picking up these Proton Torpedos, trying not to crash like an absolute failure of a pilot here with the inverted flight controls, which is coming up. Anyway, we have to collect 4 of those Proton Torpedoes, and then we have to destroy 4 thermal exhaust ports, and that's really it. I mean, this is a pretty simple level. I mean, what do you make of this one, Nick?
Yeah, so first off, I would just like to congratulate you for your ace flying. You truly are an inspiration to all of us who are looking forward to getting our hands on this game next week. This is just incredibly well done.
It's not my
flying,
fault.
Andre.
It's not my
It is totally
fault.
your fault. You need to learn how to fly. 'Cause this is bad. Come on, man.
You fly with inverted controls. You don't fly with this.
Second off, this level looks incredibly simplistic, and it looks like we're getting near the end of this Death Star sequence already, and I feel like we just got here. It looks pretty easy. It looks like you just have to grab these Proton Torpedoes and destroy the smaller thermal exhaust ports. It doesn't look very complex here. I don't want to call it disappointing, but kind of a letdown for the finale of an episode. Blowing up the Death Star, no less.
Yeah, I mean, I was able to get through this level in about 5 minutes here, and on the one hand, I was thankful because I was able to finish it, and as you guys know, we were limited in time here, but on the other hand, I was also like, this is so simplistic. It felt almost like a flight tutorial. Not too much going on here. I was expecting more interaction with Darth Vader's TIE Advanced, or at the very least with the Millennium Falcon, but as you see, the Millennium Falcon will kind of, fly in here at the end. But I guess the positive that I'm going to leave you guys with before we head to this cutscene here at the end is that the flight felt very smooth, and I can't wait to fly more in this game. You guys will see, like I said, there's going to be this quick Millennium Falcon cutscene, which I thought, they could have done more with, but that's about it. And then you're going to be, taking the final shot, which is going to lead us into this cutscene, and then we're going to regroup after this.
Great shot, kid! That was 1 in a million!
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Now, before we get into general first impressions, I just want to emphasize, how freaking hilarious that cutscene was. I don't know about you, Nick, but, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was awesome. The R2 stealing the medallion from Chewbacca was hilarious. That is honestly one of my favorite moments already in all of LEGO Star Wars. I love that. I love it when R2 becomes a menace, and he is a complete menace there. That was awesome.
like, they just tripled down on screwing over Chewbacca there, and I just, like, that, I know that made me absolutely lose my shit when I was watching that. But that said, it looks like this is the landing page that you will arrive at when you ultimately complete a episode in this game. You see the episode complete page for A New Hope. Now, that said, I guess I want to take this opportunity to kind of think back to what we just saw. Nick, what are your general thoughts on this as a finale? I guess maybe even touch on episode 4 as a whole. What are some of your impressions?
You know, I don't want to call it a disappointment, but compared to the other levels of episode 4 that now I have either played through or watched your footage, this was probably the biggest letdown of the bunch and probably the least fun, at least looking one of all 5, because the Death Star sequence when you're in this Death Star looks incredibly fun. Hunk of Junk provides a really nice challenge to the game, and I really like the Tantive IV opening sequence for this game. And for a finale mission, this one for me, Andreas, just didn't really hit the mark. I'm not saying it's bad, but it's just really short. And when you think of what you're doing, like the context of your situation, you are blowing up the Death Star, and it just didn't really feel like it was this grand finale or climax of this film. Like, I'm supposed to just feel a special way about blowing up the Death Star and saving the rebellion, and I just don't really feel that way.
Yeah, you know, I tend to agree with you on that. I think in my playthrough, I was so amazed by some of the, what I thought were smaller portions of episode 4, like talking about Hunk of Junk, for example. That is a segment of episode 4 that the movie almost glazes over, and then in this game, you have a 20-minute level on that. That's right, 20 minutes. And then you expect the finale to really show up in that regard and outdo Hunk of Junk, and it was very brief, very quick, not sure, you know, what the expectation is on this level in terms of length, but 5 minutes is what it took for me. And I thought, you know, for me, I was with the labored flight controls. I wasn't whizzing through this thing like Poe Dameron. But, I mean, is this going to be another case of the flight level curse that we've seen out of LEGO games for many years now? Or is this just a one-off kind of not the best level? And I think the best way to answer that question is actually by looking at this next segment of gameplay that we have for you, which is from The Last Jedi, the Dreadnought sequence. I know a few of you guys have probably already seen this, but we're going to give our thoughts on it because we actually have some cool details that we got from devs over at TT Games when they were walking through this segment with us. So we have kind of a bit of insight to provide that we hope is helpful for you all in evaluating this game. So with that said, Nick, you ready to go through that part?
Yep, I definitely am.
All right, let's do this. So I think we're going to actually start off here in Coruscant, and then we're going to pick up on the actual Dreadnought mission. So we're going to go in 3, 2, 1, go. All right, so here we're in the level select, and we are going to load into this level in The Last Jedi. It is a Dreadnought sequence. I'm going to leave you guys with this here cutscene first.
Urgent communique, sir. From Poe Dameron of the Republic Fleet. It's a very good likeness. How is your mother, sir?
Obliterate them!
BB-800!
He's going for the Dreadnought.
All right, taking out the cannons now. Tally, start your approach.
Copy that.
Alright guys, so here we are in the sequel trilogy. We are taking on the Dreadnought at the beginning of The Last Jedi. This is completely different than the Death Star sequence. This is a lot more open. We are not in the trenches of the Death Star. And it looks like, Andreas, at least from how I remembered this going during the media preview event, this one is a little more complex than the Death Star sequence.
Yeah, honestly, this one looks like a lot more fun to play through. Like, I just think on its face, taking out this Dreadnought just looks super cool. You have, right off the bat, TIE fighters that you have to take out, which is not something that you had to do in the Death Star sequence. And then you do have those mounted cannons that you're going to have to take out as well. But then there's also this whole second part to this level, and it's something about hitting this smaller target in the Dreadnought as opposed to the kind of the Death Star, which feels very limiting and constricting. This one, you get more of that feeling of being in open space here. And you can really see the dev in control of this really taking advantage of that roll mechanic, which I wasn't really able to take advantage of much because of the tight confines of the Death Star.
Yeah, he's definitely flying all over the place. He's putting on a showcase for how to fly, Andreas, unlike you.
Oh, come on. He probably has the flight control set to inverted.
Yeah, well, you could have done that too.
I mean, just so you guys know, my gameplay cut the second the Death Star blew up. So I used every second of my time on this demo. If I had spent even a second inverting flight controls, I wouldn't have been able to bring this gameplay to you guys. So that's the sacrifice we make here at Lunar Squadron, is that, you know, we're not going to look like sophisticated flyers now. But, I mean, we make do with what we can. And then we get this, speaking of sophisticated, more sophisticated segment in this level, first person in the cockpit. What do you make of this, Nick?
Yeah, so we've seen a system like this before, I believe, in previous LEGO Star Wars games, and I was a little shocked to see that this made its return just because it's a little wonky. It kind of reminds me of those arcade games. If you know, you go to like a thing like Dave & Buster's or something like that, it just kind of looks like that, where you have the reticle that kind of goes all over the place on the screen. It just reminds me of those arcade games. And Andres, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm surprised you didn't get this same first-person view when you blew up the Death Star and launched the Proton Torpedoes.
You know, that would have been cool, going down that final trench there, actually feel like you are Luke Skywalker. But yeah, totally arcadey here. I think that is just going to be for that one sequence. Totally reminds me of The Force Awakens, where you are blowing up the second Death Star in that game. At the beginning of that game, there is the prologue there where you do have a first-person sequence as well. Now, one thing I wanted to note here is that these TIE fighters, or TIE interceptors here, I couldn't really see, they're kind of moving fast. They do have pink trails behind them. Now, what they did tell us is that when you destroy a TIE fighter or a ship in general that has these pink trails, you will get a proton torpedo. You can see the proton torpedo counter on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. So you're going to want to take out those fighters so that you can then get those proton torpedoes to close the Dreadnought hangars. So that's the whole point and premise of this one. Poe Dameron's X-Wing taking a bit of damage here. I think he barely finishes, so take that, Nick, for flight skill.
At least he didn't die like you did. You know, there is one thing I do want to touch on real quick, is I am noticing this main level for The Last Jedi is staying true to the film. Like you can see here, this cutscene we'll let play out is just like it was in the movie.
Bombs away!
Direct hit! Dreadnought down! They can't get away, Supreme Leader. We have them tied on the end of a string.
The mighty Kylo Ren. Take that ridiculous thing off. You're just a child in a mask.
Prepare my ship.
All right, Andreas, so really the first thing I want to talk about here is a big difference I noticed between this Last Jedi gameplay sequence and the New Hope, the final Death Star sequence was, to me, I don't know how you feel about this, I'd love to know what you think. It felt like the Last Jedi sequence stayed truer to the films. It felt more like the Last Jedi playing through or watching the dev play through that sequence than it did watching your footage of you playing through that New Hope sequence. And to me, Andres, I don't know if it's just really the lack of the trench run or really the way the Millennium Falcon actually gets there in the movie, but there was just something that felt a little off. And I know one thing they were really trying to do in this game was stay true to the films, and this is the first time that I didn't really feel like they accomplished their goal here.
Yeah, I think where LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga surprised me the most in my playthrough was where it gave me more than what the movies actually gave us as well. Like, for example, in the movies, they totally gloss over Yavin. In LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, you have the whole Great Temple that you can go explore through, and that was very exciting for me. Now, in the movies, obviously, the destruction of the Death Star is this big sequence in Episode 4. It is the punctuation mark. It is the grand finale of that movie, and then it kind of felt like a bit of a dud in the game. Like, it was undersold. So that underemphasis was a bit of an upset for me. But that said, and the point of this comparison here is I don't want you guys to go ahead and panic and say that the flight in this game is going to be bad. I think there's a lot of potential actually for the flight in this game. And this is a more nuanced conclusion because of that. Because the flight controls, aside from, my whole inverted issue, which is totally fixable within the in-game menus, is the flight feels awesome. Like, the flight felt smooth. It felt like I had more control than in any other LEGO Star Wars game in the past. Hell, it was about the same level of control that you expect from, say, Battlefront 2, for example. But on that same note, guys, I think the levels here have a lot more potential given those flight controls. It's just down to the context of the level. I think that Episode 4 level was a bit of a short sell, but I think we can look forward to sequences just like that Episode 8 sequence.
Yeah, I completely agree. Honestly, the combat and the flying looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I just agree with you. Perhaps Episode 4's finale was just a little bit of an undersell, but that Last Jedi sequence looks like it's going to be a ton of fun to play next week, so I'm looking forward to that. Let us know, guys, down below in the comments, which sequence did you enjoy more? Did you enjoy blowing up the Death Star, or did you enjoy blowing up the Dreadnought? We would love to know what you think, and just let us know your first impressions of what space combat looks like in LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. We love reading through all of your comments, so please let us know down below what you think. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for us for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all